Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners to order on this 13th day of May 2021. Please rise if you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Schneiderman,
Present.
Councilwoman Lofstad,
Here.
Councilman Martell,
Here.
Councilman Bouvier,
Here.
Councilman Schiavone.
Present.
Okay, thank you. So let's get started. The board's been provided an agenda. We're going to cover several topics, pumpage, current projects, updates at Bellows Pond, the litigation update on the PFAS and the deferral letter, and then we'll open it up as well. So we're joined by a number of people today. We have John Collins with us, Rich McEwen, who is our superintendent. John is the engineer from H2M, a consulting engineer, and then James Capper is our assistant superintendent. So can I ask who is going to be presenting the first topic? Unmute yourself.
How you doing, Jay? I'll open it up.
Okay, hey James, how are you?
Good. Welcome everybody. Good to see everybody. Hopefully we can get back out of these Zooms and get in person, but good to see everybody. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our pumpage, basically what our bread and butter is. Right now, we're from January to April, we're pumping roughly 3 million gallons more. So basically a day more than last year. So we're on track from this year to match last year's record pumpage. So again, we're going to be faced with a high demand season, but we don't foresee any issues, being that we had our wells rehabbed and all that, and all our projects are moving forward. So we just wanted to give you guys just an idea of where we're at, and we're on track to match last year's record.
James, is that 3 million gallons a day over 2019?
Yeah, from January to April of 2019, 2020, we pumped 22,559,000, and as of date today, we're up to 25 million. So we're just about a day's pumpage ahead of last year. So, but still on course to match last year's record.
Thank you.
Which is good or bad? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Good. That means our cash registers are working. So it's good, and we're able to meet the demand. So that's even better. And with these projects moving forward, we should be able to meet and exceed the demand. And
now you're doing in this field. Does that include field one? I guess, or no? Field one is still off, right?
Field one's still offline. Yeah, we're waiting. The update. I mean, we can just touch on that quick because field one is one of our main plants for the district. John can touch on a little bit more if need be, but the carbon has been ordered. They had to do a little bit more sampling. It was delayed a little bit, but the carbon has been ordered, and hopefully by the middle or end of next week, beginning of next, they should be out here to change it. There's some quick sampling right after that, and then we should be able to go online. But what we're going to do now, just to be proactive, is we're putting the vessels in place to run now if need be. If we run into a high demand where we need the wells, we're actually going to test the carbon influent effluent now to see where we're at, to make sure that if we do need the 3 wells here for a high demand peak before, like Memorial Day, say, we'll be able to run a well or 2 here with filtering out all the contaminants and being in compliant. But we're just going to be proactive just in case we need it.
So when are they scheduled to change the carbon?
John, you want to touch on that?
Sounds like things are going to go down next week. Next week, they have a truck coming to remove the carbon from one of the vessels and haul it off for waste. And at the same time, that same day, they'll be able to load the carbon in one vessel They're gonna do one vessel at a time, and then when that one's good and clean, they'll move on and do the second vessel. So next week they'll do one. I imagine the following week they'll do the second if the testing allows.
So that field will be shut down for 2 weeks?
They'll be doing one at a time. So if James needs to and Rich need to run through one vessel, they'll be able to do that.
Okay, so it'll only be down for 1 week then.
Yeah.
All right, and that week will be prior to Memorial Day. So
It'll be next week. Yeah.
we'll be okay. And the other one will be probably after Memorial Day.
Yep. But they'll have the ability to run through. We have 2 carbon vessels there.
Yeah.
We're going to change one at a time. So he'll have the ability to use 1 carbon vessel. They just won't have 3 wells. They'll probably capped out about 2 wells.
But by mid-June, we'll have both up and running.
Complete. Yes.
Okay. All right. That seems okay. And we know obviously Memorial Day is a big weekend. But it sounds like we'll be fine as long as we have one of the filters online. Okay. So any other questions on the pumpage thing? You guys ran a leak detection review. So we've taken care of whatever leaks, found any major leaks have been closed off, right? So we're not pumping more water into we're not losing any water or very little, right?
Yeah, we had it completed. It's the first time the district ever had one done. And like we've said in the past, the reason why we want to do it is 1, to make sure that we have no hidden leaks or anything in our system, and 2, the DEC likes to see it for a water conservation report. It goes very good with that to be able to additionally put wells in if need be. Overall, the guy said our system is, I believe John sent out an update rundown to each one of you of what he found, but overall our system is tight. Very minor leaks that were detected. 5 out of the 6 service line leaks have already been fixed. They were very small, minute leaks, mostly on the customer side. We had 2 on our side. And all the other leaks that you'll see on there, I think there's a total of 27. Most, 2/3 of them are basically hydrants that weren't shut all the way down. And when you see the decibel reading that he sees, 0.5 to 1, he says that's equivalent to a drip. So it's not like a constant run. It's a drip here and there that he's hearing.
Okay. And then field 4, I know we're going to talk about it, I guess, later, but in the pumpage numbers, even though we're doing work there, those pumps are, at least some of those pumps are, there's I think two pumps there. Are they both operating or one is operating?
Not yet. We're waiting on they're putting the bypass piping in for 4.1. Basically, what that's going to do is bypass the filtration system and allow us to run the system without going through the iron and manganese treatment.
All right, so just to follow up on that, so that high volume of water, that's without field 1, without field 4, and without one of the pumps at field 3?
No, 3 fields we're running all. We're allowed to run them. We're allowed to run all of them at 3. So we are running all of them at 3, all of them at 2, and the 5.
Okay, all right. Oh, I didn't realize all of them were running at 3. Okay, so it's without 4 and 1, but we were able to meet the demand.
Correct.
Yeah, we haven't had any pressure complaints yet.
Okay, well, that's good. Other questions on pumpage?
Yeah, I had a question, James. Being as we're at 3 million plus gallons over we're up to about 25 million, you were saying, does the DEC on our conservation measures, have they made any indication that there's going to be any requirement for mandatory conservation water use as we get higher than these numbers?
No, they just like to see us in a water conservation report try to curb these peaks. Basically, it has to do with a lot of irrigation usage, which we've been over the last 3 years hitting hard with trying to get the consumers to be odd even, be cognitive when it's raining, to have them off, implement rain sensors, smart clocks and such. So they haven't really done or told us anything other than approve our water conservation report, which John and H2M do a very good job in presenting to them.
Okay, great. Thanks, James.
Right, so
Are you all, Jay, just one quick question. Are you all still pushing your voluntary compliance on those odd and even days for irrigation?
Yeah, it's on our website. It's also going to go in the billing system. When you receive a bill, it says, please be cognizant of your irrigation and odd even watering days. You know, we're pushing the voluntary. We send out the top 10 user letters every year. The top 10 residential, top 10 commercial. And a lot of people say, yes, we do use the water. We haven't found where people are unaware of the water usage, but it goes to show that also goes into our water conservation report with the DEC to show that we're being proactive to these customers saying, hey, listen, you're our top 10. Why? Is there anything we need to do? We can do a walk through your property. We can come check out your stuff to make sure you're not using water you're unaware of. So we're doing all we can other than finding people for using water, but up to, really that's another topic of conversation.
Right. And I do believe that if people, if they understand the situation and the amount of water that we're pumping, that they would comply.
all right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is current projects, and there is a lot going on in the water district, as you know, so let's get brought up to speed on those. Is this James or Rich or John?
I'll start and then I'll punt it to John because he has a lot of information on it. But like we said, the completed ones with the leak detection is great. The next one scheduled for tomorrow, they're actually starting is the tank washing. They're going to come first. They're going to go Overhead Road to wash that tank, and then they're coming here on Monday to wash the one here on Ponquag. This is it's not just the cleanliness that we're looking for on these tanks. They actually add an additive in there that prevents corrosion and mildew buildup once they wash them. So it does prolong the exterior of the life of the tank. So that's why we want to be active in getting these cleaned with this coating that they're going to put on there. Plant 4, we were hoping they have the tank back handed over to us, filled, ready for usage, I believe by May 19th. Shortly thereafter. So we'll have that 1 million gallons of water back before Memorial Day. So that'll be a big help of having that storage. And then, John, if you want to go into the iron plant, just basically when that's going to be completed, expected to be completed and so forth.
So the iron plant is, we just got our iron vessels last week. So that one's a little delayed. But they're actively working out there now. They're building the internals. They're running all the face piping in the building. Electricians out there active. So the site's very active right now. It looks like we'll probably be ready to do testing towards the end of June. Hopefully be online by July 4th, if not soon thereafter. In the meantime, we do have the ability to run 4.1 without the filters and going through the filters. So we have that. So we have the well, and then hopefully the second well comes in not too far after that. But it is an active site. So everybody's got the message from James and I, and they're working hard. That's on the iron plant.
Yeah, just so you guys also know that the vessels were delayed due to COVID reasons. Obviously, we had a lot of projects going on through the pandemic, and that's why you see these deadlines not being met right away. But the both projects, they did all they could to expedite their material and their workforce to get here and get it done before the peak of the season. So they did both projects are moving as fast as they can. We don't foresee any issues of not having any wells available for the consumer use. They're just going to have to be well coordinated when they go to put the iron treatment plant online, where we can shut the wells off for a time being to put the system online, but we don't see any issues from this point moving forward of not having any wells available for the peak season.
Did a couple other projects, did the automated interconnect valve get installed, or is that we're waiting on that?
Well, that was one thing we wanted to discuss at the end is
Oh, okay. All right. We can talk about that later. What about the tank that is it's the Bellows Pond tank, the resurfacing? Is that also on the agenda or is that
Yeah.
I opened up with that. That's a tank that we're going to get back hopefully by May 19th, a million gallons of water. Hopefully that we should have that back before Memorial Day, handed over, filled, ready for use.
is that going well, John? Your people have inspected all the surface prep and all the
Yep.
resins. Everything is going well with the resurfacing of that tank?
Yeah, everything's going well on that. They're doing what's called a holiday test on the interior, just kind of making sure the coating that went down correctly. There'll probably be half a day to a day of just minor touch-ups on the inside, and then inside is all done. They're also doing dry film thickness readings on the exterior intermediate coat. We expect the final coat to start being applied next Monday. Containment's going to come down, and then the final coat will be applied. Once the final coat is applied, we'll do some testing, make sure it's thick enough, and then it's filled with water. So hopefully that'll be towards the end of next week when we're looking to complete our testing.
All right, because that's the tank that delaminated prematurely last time. So but they want to make sure they did the proper preparation of the metal surface before they applied whatever resins to it. I guess there's probably something that goes on even before the epoxy goes on. But
Yep. So what they do is they blast to a near metal white on the inside, the steel, to get it down to true form. Then they apply a primer to that. That primer is then ready and then receives an epoxy NSF approved, which means it's good for drinking water. Epoxy coating on the top of that goes down at about 25 mils thick, and they've done that, and we're just doing little touch-ups where.
is the work? Are we protected? Is the work warranted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's warranted for a year from the date of acceptance. So we haven't even accepted it yet, and we don't accept it until final payment. So.
But it should last for what, 20 years?
Yes.
John, how is the work coming in the pump house? I know there's significant piping, large piping work that's being done in there. Is that part of the May 19th date?
No, the pump house is separate. The pump house is the iron filter. They're a little delayed on that. The filters just got here last week. They're actively building the internals. Once the internals go in, they'll load their sand and anthracite. Next Monday, they're starting on their large piping. There was a delay in valves, so they have those now. So once the large piping gets going, all the site piping is done except for, I think, one line that'll go in next week. They were just waiting for the tank guy to move some equipment. So like I said, that one was going, and we don't think that one's going to be up and ready to run to system till late June, at best.
Okay. And they understand, of course, the seasonal nature of our area.
Yep, and that's why we have 4.1 that's ready to go to system probably next week without filters. And then as the filters come online, we're going to test it when we can. Obviously we're not going to be testing in 8 to 10 in the morning. We might be doing a lot of testing in the afternoon or off hours, just running water through there, getting the water quality test, making sure the iron removal is doing what it's supposed to do.
John, you're engineering 2 other things for us, actually 2.5 other things. You've got the 2 bay crossing, the bay crossing and the canal crossing, and then you're doing like a engineering study for granulated activated carbon for possibly field 3. So can you just update us on the 2 underwater crossings and the possible additional filtration?
Yes, sir. The 2 underwater crossings we have designed. We have a firm called Land Use that we use as a subcontractor, And he's now in the process of submitting to the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineering to get their permits. Once we get the DEC and the Army Corps, we'll feel comfortable submitting it to the state and local health departments. But the drawings are basically 95% to go to DEC, Army Corps, and then, like I said, once I get initial comments from them, we'll feel comfortable getting it to the health department so they know that we're working on it, and go from there. But I would expect, within the month to submit to the health department, and then from there, it's just waiting on. I think they have to go to there's a town committee they have to go in front of, a town conservation, or I forgot the name of the town committee. But they have to go to them.
Conservation Board, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll have to go to the conservation board, but they usually wait till they get DEC and Army Corps approval.
They might have to go to the town trustees too. I don't know. They own the underwater land, but I don't know if they own the area beneath the underwater, the bottom land. So
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have any issues personally. You're not affecting the bottom lands. You're going underneath it, but.
Yep, we're actually starting, I would have to say probably about 1,000 feet on one side away from the shore, the high tide line, and we'll be a minimum of 500 feet away from the high tide line at any point with any open excavation. So.
Okay.
And how does that timeline work with our temporary permit that we have for the current underwater crossing?
Well, we hope to be bidding this summer, and then from there, it would all depend on, bidding this summer, looking to construct, obviously not in the summer out here, but more through the fall and winter. And that'll meet our March 2022 date on Ponquag.
How is this is more for Rich, I think, but we have the current pipe marked out with buoys or signage. We've had that pipe break twice.
Yeah,
And the fix has been very, very challenging. So I just want to make sure we have adequate signage for anyone in that area, that there is a utility that is vulnerable.
we went out last year ourselves, actually, and hung underwater obstruction signs on the bridge. We also contacted the Coast Guard as far as putting buoys on it to actually mark it in the water, which is also another option. But right now we do have signage on the bridge indicating that there's utility crossing in the area. And obviously now the county knows about it and stuff, and the Coast Guard's been made aware of it.
Yeah, there's no dredging activity at the moment there.
No.
But all right, well, thank you for that. And then let's go back to John, just an update on that last piece, the Field 3 pre-engineering for filtration.
So Field 3, we're doing an engineering report, just doing a study on what type of treatment would be best. We're wrapping that up now. I'd expect by the end of the month that we'll have a draft for James and Rich to review, and then from there we could issue it.
Right, well, hopefully we won't have to do any filtration there. The numbers will continue to subside. But
So yeah, recent numbers, it shows well 3.1 is still non-detect. Well 3.3, it continues to be no detections. 3.2 is a little higher. It has PFAS in it at about 9 parts. So we're keeping our eye on that one and running 3.2 as a last resort. We did do a blended sample last time. So we had all 3 wells running the system, and with 3.2 running, we pulled a blended sample, and I think it was a 4 parts of PFAS. So
Right.
we're well below the MCL on that one.
the MCL is 10 parts per trillion. Okay. All right. So that brings us to the next topic. Let me just make sure that there's no other board questions on current projects. All right, excellent. All right, so we're going to move on to the third topic. which we've covered actually mostly already. Is there anything else, John, related to the four-field project updates? That's the iron and the manganese filtration. You sort of told us that it'll be up and running by July. And you can
The
run,
iron and manganese, we're shooting for July, yes,
right, but you can run for two, I think you said, without it,
for one.
for one, okay.
Yep.
It's hard to keep track.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move on to the fourth topic. And I don't know if it sounds more like a executive session item, but the AFFF litigation update. Who was talking about that?
Yeah, I could handle that. I was on the phone with the attorneys yesterday, just to get the latest update. They're in what they're calling the discovery phase, where it's a fact-finding, information gathering part of the operation. They're not releasing a lot of information, they're sort of keeping everything hush-hush. Not, just so their information that they're gathering, they don't want it to get into the wrong hands and have something get out to the public where it's not, not supposed to be. Right now they're expecting that part of the process to be concluded sometime at the end of August, or by the end of August. And at that point, they're going to move forward with depositions and stuff and proceed further with the case. But right now, they've contacted us. We're providing as much information to them as we possibly can. And for all, as I see it, they're proceeding quite aggressively on this. They're working with other water districts. We're not the only ones here. This is a class action suit. And I believe it's involving water districts from Illinois to Washington. So, hopefully they'll get everything together, get all the information, and we all stand to recover some funds out of this, this situation. They're actually sending sometime within the next few days, I'm expecting sample packets that they're sending out to retest for the PFAS and PFOS levels and the type of chemical and stuff. So they don't want to let too much information out, as I said, but they are actively pursuing this case.
All right. All right. Thank you, Rich. All right. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the deferral letter. We sort of covered this as well already. This is field 3. Is there anything more you guys need to add about field 3? That deferral letter is in effect for how long of a period, John?
August 2020, August 25th, 2021.
All right. So toward the end of the summer. Now, but the numbers are still below the MCL. So it's possible that we'll be able to use those wells without filtration.
Yeah, I mean, might have to do institute a blending protocol, but for 3.2, because 3.2 is very high, it's at last, I think was like a 9.4, so it's right hovering on the edge. But as long as we run it with another well that's much lower, we seem to be, we can run the system without a violation.
Okay.
But we do have the deferral does cover 3.2, so we're safe, we're covered on that sense. But from our standpoint, we're, it's a last on at the site because we don't want to run the risk of going over a 10.
Okay. And it's possible that the contamination will move past the well field and you'll see no detection on any of those wells, in which case we should be okay. How frequently are we testing at that field?
Monthly.
You are monthly now? Okay. And we're doing field 1 monthly too, once it goes into operation, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And everything else is quarterly?
Yes.
Okay. And trying to think if there's any other questions on the testing protocols.
Well, just also too, I'll touch on testing. We recently had to do the 1,4-dioxane testing, which has been a nightmare for local water districts surrounding us, and every well came back non-detect. So
Good.
that's a very good thing for us and moving forward. So
All right. Is this a year we have to do the lead as well, testing?
that's every 3 years. I think we did it in 2019, I believe. So I think we got to do it again in 2022.
2022, okay.
Next year.
Okay. So let me look at the agenda for a second. And next is just it says open floor. So I believe this is just any topic we want to talk about. Can I ask you guys, most modern water districts are now using automated meters where you can sort of drive by and get an electronic data that gets automatically uploaded into the system. Do we have a plan to convert our meters to electronic meters?
Yeah, it's in the 10-year master plan. I think it's within the next 5 years, 2 to 5 years, I should say, to have that completed. We've been trying to focus on these main projects like detrimental to the infrastructure and stuff first, get those out of the way, and then we'll look for upgrading the meter system to the drive-by technology for sure.
Okay. And you mentioned you were going to talk a little bit about the interconnection with Suffolk County Water Authority east of the canal.
Yes, that would, in the beginning when this first all came to fruition with the boathouses, I would say the prior administration before you guys mostly agreed with the boathouse to not have to do anything besides have an interconnect with Suffolk County for firefighting reasons. If the pressure should ever drop below 20 pounds, that interconnect would automatically open up, allow Suffolk County to help feed for the volume for firefighting. So John's been working with Suffolk County, getting negotiations in about the contract and everything. Everything seemed to be going well, but till they came back with the pricing and their demands for the interconnect. I'm sure, Julie, you were aware of this. You were involved in the conversation. But basically, they're saying they want to charge us an annual fee no matter what, once the meter's in the ground. And then there's a pricing breakdown per million gallons of water used, if ever be. Now that we're going to be faced with additional fees, and we have this other project that John's working on for the drilling the canal, where if we had that canal project done, the redundant main would basically take place of that interconnect. We wouldn't need the interconnect. We want to look at and have you guys think about, should we invest in the money for that interconnect when we're going to try to invest in the money for the drill, which makes more sense than just leaving the interconnect.
But the
That being said, the biggest reason was for the firefighting reason. It wasn't for consumer use reason.
James, the interconnect was required mitigation of the company that owns the boathouses.
Right.
Right. So we're not paying for that interconnect. They are.
We're not
Paying for the work, but they're not paying for the fees after that.
Yeah, we're not paying for the capital, Jay, but in according with the agreement that Suffolk County Water provided, there's a monthly fee that's roughly equal to about $2,700 a month that the district's going to be, so to speak, liable for. So
$2,700 a month.
yes,
Wow.
$6,000, over $36,000 a year, not including if any water was to be used.
yeah, and that's just the right to have the connection.
Yeah.
And the agreement's for 15 years. So
So if we do the canal crossing, we're still going to be liable to pay this fee to them no matter what, even if we turn it off because we don't need it anymore.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're talking about 15 years of $30,000 or almost $40,000 a year. So $500,000. Yeah.
And we could put towards
Wow.
paying off the drill. You know, the drill is roughly $1.5 to $2 million to complete.
I wonder if we don't do it. So is Jim on the line here? Jim Burke? Who's
Yeah.
Who's the town attorney?
And
on
we
that?
already have one of these in, right? And when it was put in, we were finding that water was going into the Suffolk County system from the Hampton Bays Water District.
Yeah, that's correct, John.
Yeah, it's a manual one that we have to open up physically. The biggest thing was this one was automatic, so we wouldn't have to do anything,
Right.
work on itself. But yeah, you're feeding on the east.
Just send him a bill.
Yeah.
Can I ask, can I get Jim Burke to unmute?
All right, thanks.
So,
Hello?
yeah, Jim, are you following this conversation about the interconnect?
I was sorry, I was on the phone with our planning commissioner on something with Janice, but
Okay, so let me just explain the situation. So, when the boathouses and CPI were approved, actually there was some litigation,
oh yeah, yeah,
And-
I'm
and it
familiar
was-
with that aspect of it.
and
Sure.
and there was a question about secra, and particularly
Yeah,
fire suppression was the issue.
yeah,
And there was then a requirement that an interconnection, an automated valve be installed by the Recklers, in this case, the boathouse folks, so that if pressure dropped below a certain PSI, it would automatically come on. So, and the boathouse folks, the Recklers, are responsible for paying for that, which is not cheap. It's an expensive valve.
mm-hmm.
Suffolk County Water Authority now is saying that they want a monthly fee for having that valve in place of, I think, $3,600 or something like that, or $3,000. What was the number?
27.
Oh, sorry, $2,700, almost $3,000 a month, that they want to charge the water district for the presence of the valve. And then, of course, for any water used, if the pressure does drop below that. What the water district is saying is that when we do the canal crossing, when we have that second pipe going, they're not concerned about the pressure. And they don't, that 3,000 a month over a 15-year period is like $500,000. And they don't want the district to have to shoulder that because it'll be unnecessary at that point. I'm concerned though, because that valve was required from litigation. And if we cannot do it, I still would want the Recklers obviously to pay what would have been that amount of money toward the water district somehow, if we can, but also I don't know that we cannot require that valve since it was part of litigation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, yeah,
we're in open session here, so
right.
I don't want you to say anything that could compromise the town's position.
Sure. No, we can. I'll discuss that. I know Kathleen was very involved in it as well. We could talk with the attorneys for CPI. I know we spent a lot of time on this issue a few years, a little while back. If there is, I'm thinking just generally, if there's a replacement, it might satisfy the issues that came up as the reason why you needed the interconnection. But I will explore that.
If we could use the money that they were going to pay for the valve toward the cost of putting the new Shinnecock Canal crossing in,
Right.
it'll just cover a small portion of that. But that will actually help with the boathouses in terms of, greater pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But also will help with the fire suppression issues.
Sure.
And that is something we're potentially going to be doing within a 1-year window. So it almost doesn't make sense to do the valve
Mm-hmm.
when it's not necessary. There is
Right.
also a valve in place. It's just a manual valve.
Okay.
Right, guys? There's a manual valve there?
Yep.
Yeah. This is
And you just turn it on when you need it, basically.
The thing is, we've tried to utilize them before to no avail. That's my stand on it. You know,
Rich,
manual or automatic, if the water's not there, it does us no good either way.
Yeah. Rich, they
problem is the
rezoned
pressure-
Southampton, so.
The pressure on the Suffolk County water side is sometimes lower than our pressure, and then
Yeah.
it actually goes the other way.
Right.
No, not anymore. Suffolk County recently rezoned that area of Southampton. So their pressure gradient's higher than ours.
Oh, it is, okay,
That's the Shinnecock Hills area, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
okay.
that's good to hear. Because that was definitely the area we were receiving the complaints. At the time, the planning board was considering the application on the CPI property.
All right, so why don't we finish this part of the conversation in executive?
Yeah.
All right, so, you know, to the water authority guys, you know, we'll have to get back to you on this. When is that valve scheduled to go in?
Not scheduled yet. They need an agreement first.
Okay, so we have some time.
Oh, yeah, you got our time basically, but if it's gonna go in, it has to go in sooner than later.
That's the interconnection valve, John?
Yes.
Okay.
The automated there's already an interconnection. It's just, this would make it automatic. When the pressure drops on our side below, what is it, 20 PSI, it automatically comes on?
Yeah, it's 35, but yes.
Oh, below 35. Okay.
Yeah.
What's typical line pressure?
In the winter or the summer?
I don't,
Over there in the winter time, I think you can get up to 70 pounds, can't you?
Yeah,
guys?
we've had 75, 80 pounds in some spots. You know, but the summertime, it's definitely a different story with the demand.
what's the summertime?
Yeah, well, the summertime, it varies. You know, we do have some areas that hold pressure, and then obviously we have areas that don't, you know.
Well, can I ask the question? Maybe would it make sense to have this automated valve now that they've increased pressure on the Suffolk County Water Authority side? Maybe we don't need the line under the canal then.
Well, Jay, the one thing is that valve is going on Montauk Highway. The biggest problem is your elevation areas. So even though the elevation areas might be down to 20 or 30 pounds, Montauk Highway is always going to remain 40 to 50 pounds. The problem is getting the water uphill. So having that valve on Montauk Highway to open up, you would have to make it open up at 50 pounds for it to do any good. You understand what I'm saying? Most of the complaints are coming from-
John, do you agree with that?
I think it's for naught because the water authority has already gone on record to say that this is to be used on firefighting purposes only, and it's not to be used on to meet daily demands. Plus, if we do open it, I think we have to pay. I forgot the exact number, but I thought it was like almost like $800 per million gallons or something like that.
But we don't open it. It opens automatically.
It does, but they're going to set it so it doesn't open to meet our demands. They're going to open. It's only going to open on fire flow.
Well, how do you do that? No, how would they know that the pressure drop is a result of a fire?
Well, they won't, but you can go over to the boathouse and know that at certain pounds at the boathouse is when the interconnect's going to open. So you would open it there at that setting. There's ways to do it. Yes.
So that charge would be on top of the $2,700 flat fee?
Well, yes, it's a minimum. So if you use
Right, the
enough
20
water, if you use enough water to exceed $2,700, then they only charge you for the water.
Okay.
So there's a minimum. There's a minimum of 800
Yes.
bucks.
But they have it written in there that if you use 1 gallon, that thing opens and you use 1 gallon, you get charged for 15 days of use. So it's, if you open it and use it, your minimum bill goes from 2,700 to like 8,000. So.
Wow.
Supervisor, there's a lot here. I agree with you that some of this should be an exec.
Okay.
Really like to look at that contract and understand the water sourcing and everything. What you're saying, all of you, makes a lot of sense. I think you just need to sort that out.
Hey, John, since the first email that you guys had sent us, have you received anything else that you can forward to us that we can take a look at?
The only thing I received was the schedule that outlined the fees, how the fees were calculated, and I believe we got that, right? And that was the last correspondence I've had.
On the 5th, minimum charge, and then in the event the water is taken within a billing period, et cetera?
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll generate a lot of questions from us that we need to go back to them with. I didn't fully understand that, how it was, and I had a bunch of questions, but I don't think this is the place for it.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we'll take the rest up in executive session. Is there any other questions or items while we have the Water District Commissioners meeting going? If not, we'll go back to our regular work session. Anything else from the board?
Yeah, before we close, I just want to appreciate the work of
Do I have to do,
Rich.
do I have to do public portion? I probably do. Yeah, all right, so go ahead, Tommy John.
Okay. I just want to appreciate the water district and the work that you're doing. We're working on 3 of the 5 well fields, providing water well. There are numerous capital projects happening in the Hampton Bays Water District, and there's more to come. So good job with the summer's coming, and you know what, we're behind you.
All right, so let's go to public portion. Charles, is there anyone who wishes to be heard at the Water District Commissioners meeting?
They will have to raise their hand and I'll be happy to let them in. At the moment, I see no hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second,
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.